Welcome to the Encore Audio Archives YouTube channel. I'm Taper Dave, and this is my channel. I've uploaded hundreds of talks here that I've recorded at meetings in West LA, and I've also recorded conventions starting in 2013. I've got a bunch of those up. And Walt and Mary Murray, the original owners of Encore Audio Archives, started the company in the 80s, and Walt recorded Joe and Charlie's and a bunch of stuff down in Vista, California. My sobriety date is June 20th of 1994. I hope you find something you like, so please like and subscribe to my channel and comment down below. If you want to hear something that I don't have or that you don't see, I'll see that I get it. Anyways, take care and have a great day if you want to.
Okay, please let's give a warm welcome to our main speaker, Earl.
Hi, my name is Earl. I'm an alcoholic. Hi. Hi. I started drinking when I was 12. Oh, yeah. I'm Earl. I'm an alcoholic. Didn't I just say that? Yeah. I said that. I thought I said that. You're right. We got hecklers tonight. Great. Okay. Started drinking when I was 12. Little pot, little wine. Humble beginnings. And the only reason I did that was because I'd been shipped off to boarding school. I was the smallest and the youngest kid in the school of 250 boys. I felt like I'd just been thrown away by my family, and I had no idea what I was doing there. I was scared to death. I had just met the biggest guy in the school, who had gotten my attention, smacked me in the back of the head, said, "How you doing, punk?" And I hit him, and he beat the crap out of me. And he thought I had a lot of guts because I hit him. And I didn't have a lot of guts. I was just terrified, and I didn't know what to do. That's why I hit him. And he beat me up, and I went back to my room and was, sitting there waiting for the bleeding to stop. And the word spread across this campus, watch out for this little Hightower kid. He's a maniac. He attacked Tiny, So I had this reputation all of a sudden in this new life that had absolutely nothing to do with who I was. Just a frightened little boy. And just the hole was getting deeper, you know what I mean? It was just, my life was just all wrong, and I knew it, and I had no tools for living. Well, I had one at this point, violence, because apparently when you attack people, they don't know how afraid you are, so it masks the fear, and that was important to me. So the cool guys came around and said, "You want to smoke a joint?" And I said, "Yeah," and I didn't know what they were talking about, but what I heard was, "You want to hook up with us?" And the answer was, "Yeah, that's what I want to, I want to hook up. I'm alone in the universe as far as I can tell." So I'm behind the dorm, I'm sucking on the wine, and I'm hitting the joint, and I don't know why we're doing this, and I'm looking at Matt and Steve, complete strangers. They're 13, I'm 12. I don't know why we're here, and just bing, it happened. That feeling came over me. And for the first time, I was comfortable standing where I was standing, doing what I was doing with the people I was doing it with. And I'd never felt like that before. The fear left me. I was comfortable. I was confident. And I didn't know if it's the pot, it's the wine. You know what I mean? This is the beginning for me. I didn't know if it's the fact that I'm standing here with my two, at that point, the little pot, these are my very close personal friends, Matt and Steve. We have a very deep, meaningful relationship now. And I just said, but all the worrisome comments that I heard, pot leads to heroin, you drink, you're going to end up a hobo, you're going to all this stuff. And that all just went away because nobody went to jail that night, nobody died, no blood was drawn, nothing bad happened, man. All that happened was that I felt great. I felt great. And I woke up the next morning, felt fine. Said, you know what? That's the greatest thing that's ever happened to me in my life. I'm doing that as often as I possibly can. There's no reason not to that I can say. And I did every day for the next 16 years, no matter what. No matter what. And along the way, I was given many a good reason to stop. Many, many good reasons to stop. There were not the little small, subtle, peripheral little suggestions that made you stop and think, hey, maybe this isn't a good idea. I'm talking about huge billboards lit up right in front of me that said, this is a very bad idea. Thanks for sharing, but I gotta go. Because I'm clear of purpose, man. I drink and use no matter what. You know, that's why I hate that little thing they say in here about just don't drink or use no matter what. I mean, give me a break. If I could do that, you think I would be here? What the hell would I be doing here? Talking to a bunch of, I mean, I know a lot of you, but that's because I've been here for a while. You know what I mean? Work the steps. Are you nuts? Go to meetings, work the steps, be of service. Screw you, I'm home channel surfing, making phone calls, hooking up, getting things, doing stuff. Because I can just not drink and use no matter what, That's insane. I'm the exact opposite of that. I drink and use no matter what. That's me. And lots of good reasons, couldn't stop. Man, my head, you're so lucky you're not in here right now. It's just... If I hurt you, I'm sorry tonight, because it's just going to come out. That's what my sponsor used to tell me all the time right before I'd speak. He'd come up and say, if you can't help me, don't hurt me. Real encouraging, huh? So anyway, I'm going to get sober fast. 13 was pills, any kind of pills, Seconal, Tuanil, Placidil, blah, 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 blah. 14 psychedelics, took my first hit of acid, 3 hits of white lightning. Yeah, you know, don't you? Yeah, that's a... did about 650 acid trips, acid, peyote, psilocybin, all that stuff. And got classified legally insane by the military a few years later. 15, I started shooting dope. 16, I started going to mental hospitals. They started locking me up, dropped out of high school. They threw me in a mental institution. I tried to escape, didn't make it. Well, I didn't know that it was in that 3 cups of pills a day, you know what I'm saying? I'm sitting in the cafeteria having lunch with Kill Day, and Kill Day was really crazy. So Kill Day was a lot of fun, all you had to do was say, how you doing? And Kill Day just zing, man. Kill Day would go crazy. And it was like, so every meal was like dinner and a show, you know what I mean? You just eat your little meal and watch Kill Day flip out. So when I made my bust, when I was going to bust out of the joint, they had the green exit signs, just like they have here. And I'm sitting at lunch in the cafeteria, and I used Kill Day as my diversion, and I got Kill Day spinning off of that direction. I'm in my chair, and I'm ready, ready, ready to go. And I'm hauling ass. I got the arms are working and everything. I'm not moving, and I don't know what's wrong. Because I've been in this joint for weeks just kind of shuffling around in there, you know what I mean? Taking my little pills, getting my little shot, visiting with the psychiatrist, who says, how are you feeling? How would I know? I've been loaded since I was 12, So, my tools for living at this point in my life, I'm 16 years old. My tools for living are drugs, alcohol, violence, and run. And those fit everything. That, as far as I could tell, I was pretty comfortable with the outcome of every situation if I used one of those. So the next time I got thrown in the nut house, I escaped the first day, because one of your tools for living, if you're going to live my life, is you got to get out before they get the Thorazine in you, because if you don't, you're leaving when they say. So I got out, I spent some time on the streets, and I do what we do out on the streets. And I ended up in college without a high school diploma. It's a long story. I ended up being diagnosed with malignant cancer when I was 20 years old, came back down here to LA, had major surgery on my back. They told me I was going to die. They told my family I was going to die. I told them, you have no idea who you're talking to. You don't know how I'm living every day, Death is not really a big deal, It's not a big deal, Putting a 3-year business plan together, that's a big deal. That's impossible. Dying, it's just, we're all going to do that anyway. What's the big hoop, And made it through that and ended up back in Northern California, and I got an acceptance to go to law school, and I got this going on, I got that going on. And it's just all a big charade. It's got absolutely nothing to do with anything. I'm a drug dealer is what I am. I'm living up north with this woman, and I'm dealing drugs to the Saudi princes in this college over here, and I'm dealing with the local community over here, and I'm studying marketing and distribution in school, and I'm applying this to my business. It's the only reason to be there that I can see. And I figure at some point I'm going to need a lawyer, so I've applied to law school. Because I've already, had all the wrong conversations with the FBI, and all those people who didn't like me. So then my mother calls me, says, we haven't been anywhere for 10 years. We'll go anywhere you want to go. Let's just go as a family. And I went, right, okay. So, I didn't throw you away. You threw me away. Now you're crying and you want me to come fly to a little place with you. Okay, all right. So I fly back to L.A., and I'm having one of those 6 a.m. mornings where you can't get your mouth open anymore, You just, it's a little bit too much cocaine. But I always had a tendency to overshoot the mark, Which is why I always liked cocaine and Quaaludes, because I always felt relaxed but alert, Walking that, trying to get it to just stay right in there. God. Anyway, so I show up, and my mother goes, "That's very attractive. Your inability to speak. Get in the car." So we get in the car, we get in the plane to fly to Guadalajara, and on the way there, the plane crashed. And my mother, my father, and my little sister were all killed, and I wasn't. Well, I was. I just didn't die completely. Just emotionally and spiritually, and in terms of having any connection with God or my fellow man or anything, I died on those levels, but I was still breathing. And I woke up on this mountain, and I broke everything. My back was broken, my leg was crushed, my arm, my skull was fractured. I had a lot of internal injuries, and I was paralyzed from the waist down. I couldn't move, and I was awake. And I laid there in the mud on that mountain, and I watched them all bleed to death in front of me. And there was nothing I could do. And I knew that I had no interest in a God that would do something like that. And then some guys came up and they scavenged the plane wreck, took the money out of my wallet, scavenged around, got what they could get, and then went back down off the mountain and left me up there to die. So I had no more use for you either. So I renounced any relationship with God. I saw no more need for any kind of a facade in my life to deal with you. I'm going to law school, I'm dealing with cancer, I got all this stuff going on. And you just back off and let me drink. I'd keep you happy somehow in my life. You know what I mean? I'm doing something with my life, leave me alone. Now I saw no more need for that because I didn't care what you thought. If you had money, drugs, alcohol, sex, or information on how I could get any or all of the above, I would talk to you. If you didn't, back off. I got no need for you whatsoever. I don't care what you think. I don't care how you feel. I know at this point, I know I'm a drug addict and an alcoholic at this point. I know. It's my life. It's never going to be in my life like it was like I see on television, like I see the people moving around in the world around me, talking about family and friends and this and that. I don't have a family. I don't have friends. I don't have connections to other people. I just have connections. That's what I have in my life. I have relationships that deal with my business. And people that want what I've got or people that I got to deal with to get what I need to get them what they want. That's all I have in my life. And I know that's all it is. And we all pretend to be friends, and we all pretend we're telling each other our real names. And it's just a lot of bullshit. And I was just an isolated, crazy boy out there living my life. And they finally took me down off the mountain, and some guys came out, another guys came up, and they took me down off the mountain, and they tagged my right toe, and they pulled the truck over, and my mother was laying next to me in the truck, and I was holding her hand, and I noticed that they tagged her toe, and then they tagged my toe, and sat down and started smoking cigarettes, waiting for me to die, and I just wouldn't die. So they finally took me to the hospital, and the federales showed up because they got my ID, and they wanted to know what I was doing back in Mexico, and that's a whole other story. And they interrogated me through an interpreter for 3.5 days and wouldn't give me anything for pain. And finally, I got a buddy of mine in Northern California to call a family in Mexico to fly a plane in to smuggle me out of Mexico. So I finally got out of Mexico. Spent a long time in a hospital in Santa Monica. Came out, went on my last run, which was 4.5 years long. And I was sober on 3 separate occasions in 4.5 years. And that was because I was strapped to a table for 72 hours each. Doing a little bootleg detox in Hollywood, and one of those little sanitariums, you know what I mean, where they strap you to a table, shoot you full of anticonvulsants, and 72 hours later they either send you home or to the morgue, and they don't really care which. When I would reconnect with God, strapped to that table, saying, "You get me out of this sane and alive," because I was losing it. I'll never drink again. My ass is kicked. I can't take this anymore. Had been a long, hard road, man, and I was 28 years old, and I'd be drunk the night I got out. because I didn't know. I knew I was an alcoholic, but I didn't know anything about alcoholism. I didn't know what I was dealing with. I didn't know that the greater aspect of my disease was the obsession of the mind. I mean, if it was just quit drinking and using, if that's all it was, detox centers would be kicking out winners, man. You would. You go in, you kick, and they'd say, thanks for coming by, have a nice life, Earl. And I'd say, well, yeah, great, thanks. I go out and live my life. But it's not like that. The obsession of the mind is the greater aspect, and it's the thing that tells me I can drink like a normal man, even though I have never done that. My mind for years would tell me, let's just go have a couple of drinks. And that's insane, because I've never had a couple of drinks. You have a couple of drinks while you're waiting for them to bring you a couple of drinks. That's all that's for. There's no point in because I can't get done what I got to get done. What I got to get done is I got to kill the fear, because I'm a self-centered, frightened human being. And fear is the last thing I feel. And if it's the last thing I feel, I got to get drunk. I can't get socially lubricated, you know what I mean? I'm still afraid. I can't smoke a little dope, do a couple of lines, take one pill. I can't do that. I'm there till it's all gone. All gone. Or I fall over, or I overdose, and I end up in the ambulance again, which I was doing a lot of. I was overdosing a lot. I mean, I got to the point where they loaded me in an ambulance one day, and they loaded me in, and the guy looked down at me, and he went, "Hi, Earl." Getting known in the wrong circles. So, and on and on and on, and craziness and insanity, and then finally, the moment of clarity. And I came out of a blackout, and I was living with this woman in Venice, and I came out of the last blackout, and both my hands were broken, and it was 4 days later. For some reason, I do 4-day blackouts. I'll come to, and it's been 4 days. I got 50 of those. 4 days. Apparently, my body, that's as far as it's willing to go, and it's going to wake me up and show me what I've been doing. And at that, we were being evicted because apparently I had attempted to murder the landlord, which I have no memory of at all. And all I remember is what he was saying to me. His name was David Luboff. And he was this little short Jewish man, and he had a big cane. And he looked real biblical, you know what I mean, with this big staff in his hand, you know what I mean, and his beard. And all I remember is he kept yelling at me as they were carting me off one more time in an ambulance, "You don't understand the ramifications of the situation." He kept saying that to me, and I got it, and I went, he's right. I don't get it. I don't want to live like this, but I just seem to keep living like this. And I went into a hospital, and they kept me for 5 days, and I got worse. And I went to another hospital, and they kept me for 12 more days of detox and another 30 days of rehab. And I came out of there as crazy as I've ever been in my life. I had hair down to here and a beard out like this. I weighed 215 pounds. I was yellow. I'd broken 74 bones by then. I had over 600 stitches in me. I'd been stabbed a couple of times, shot at. The violence had been extreme. I had burned my life to the ground. My family was dead. I had no place to live. I had no money. I had no friends. It was over. There was nothing left. Nothing. It was die or get sober. That was all there was. And I didn't want to die. And that was the thing for me. That was the staggering reality for me, was that I didn't want to die. And the guy said, one thing I got in 30 days was, if you don't want to die, you got to stay sober. And if you want to stay sober, you better go to AA. And I said, okay. And I ended up in the back of a meeting on a Friday night. And that was, I've been sober since November 6, 1980. I turned 17 last November. And I couldn't stay sober for a day. And I swore to God I was cleaning up 1,000 times. I quit drinking 1,000 times. Every time my head was going for the table, this has got to stop. But man, when my body needed a little bit more, my body waked me up. As my head came back up off the table, I had a whole new agenda. And that's the thing, that's the bitch of this disease, man. I mean, if you're new and you're out there and you're thinking, I got it, it ain't a problem, don't worry, meeting a week. I'll call that guy, I'll ask that guy if he'll sponsor me, but I won't bother to get his number because I ain't calling him. Service thing, fine. Steps, read them, cool. You know what I mean? If you're looking at it like that and you're identifying it all with me, let's rethink this for a minute. The persistence of this illusion is astonishing, an illusion, a belief in a lie, that I can drink like the normal man. It's astonishing. Many of us pursue it to the gates of insanity and death. I have a friend who calls me the gate guy. He says, you just seem to go to the gate a lot. So I got sober. I'm through talking about that. You get sober. I got sober, and I came here, and I sat in the back, and I knew I got no place else to go, and it was a great way for me to get here destroyed. That was the only way I was going to stay. There was absolutely no place else left to go. Because I sat in the back with, just like this, my arms full, my best tough guy look on my face, you know what I mean? And thinking, terrified, because all my tools for living were over. None of them worked. I couldn't drink, I couldn't use, I couldn't run, I couldn't fight. I was done. I was done. And this old guy got up to speak, and I thought, oh, great. You know? Gets up, he's like 65 years old. I'm 28. He's 65 years old, he's a Skid Row bum, he's a wino, and he's an ex-boxer. I'm none of these things. I don't drink wine unless that's the only thing left. I was never on Skid Row. I couldn't find Skid Row. I mean, I think that there's something very comforting about Skid Row. To this day, as an alcoholic, I get it. I get Skid Row. First of all, anybody who thinks, wow, man, those guys are hitting low bottoms. You know what? Those are the toughest sons of bitches of us all. That they live long enough to get there and live there. Most of us die before we ever get that far. Those are some tough boys down there, man. You know, and there's something great about going and buying a quart of gin and going and sitting in a doorway and cracking the cap and taking a couple of big slugs, and nobody's going to walk by and go, hey, what the hell are you doing? Nobody's going to do that, man. You the man now. You got the quart. Everybody wants to be your friend. It's just the warped alcoholic mind that I have. You know what I mean? I just think, it just comforts me to know there's a place like that. It's very weird. But far more comforting than that is that there's a place like this. That's not the way I got to go. That I don't have to do that. I don't have to do that. I don't have to be a slave like that anymore. I don't have to be a slave. See, the thing about this disease is that I was out there every day because of the denial that enshrouds any aspect of alcoholism that you want to discuss, the obsession of the mind, the allergy of the body, whatever it is, this shroud of denial that covers it all told me out there that every day that I was out there, right, I would wake up in the morning and I would actually decide, I'd think it over. Should I use or should I not use? Should I use or not use? And I actually thought I was actually working something out here. And I would think it through, and it never occurred to me that for 16 years on a daily basis, I've used every day. There's really not a lot of decision-making going on here. It's like the disease is in my head. It's like the disease says, Earl, do what you got to do, bro. Think it through any way you want to think it through. Rationalize it any way you need to. Have whatever little conversation you need to have with yourself. Tie it up pretty neat, put it in a little package, put a bow around it if you need it. Do whatever you got to do, bro, but we will be using today. That's the truth of it. I wasn't in charge. I had no choices. There were no choices for me. It had to be done every day. And I just had to get it as pretty as I could so that I could make it happen and not have to say, you know what, I'm out of control. My entire life is unmanageable. I have no control over this thing. I am a slave. I am totally and completely addicted. There's not a choice being made here. My ass is being run by alcoholism every waking moment. Every waking moment. When I first got sober, it started to show up in my dreams. My old friend. I used to think that, they'd say, it says in the book, there'd come that moment when there would be no human defense against the first drink. That scared the hell out of me when I got here. Because I think, wow, because I'm hooked up. I got a sponsor. I'm going to meetings. I got commitments. I'm doing everything they tell me to do because I got nowhere else to go. I got to stay here, right? And that old timer in that first meeting I went to had said to me, talked openly and honestly about his life as a man, his feelings, his emotions, how he dealt with this crazy-ass head and moved through a day and created no wreckage while his head was chewing on him all day. And I thought, that's amazing. I never had a day like that. I never had a day with no wreckage. There was always something that went wrong every day. And that was like a hope for me. I got hope the first meeting I ever went to, and I was a hopeless alcoholic when I got here. I had no hope. If you just let me sweep up the rooms and stay here, that's good. You know, all the dreams are gone. The dreams of the music, the dreams of the writing, the dreams of the business, the dreams of the family or the friends or the money. You know, I came here knowing I had no sense of family. I had no sense of community. I had no idea what it meant to be anybody's friend. I had been underground my whole life. I didn't know if I could do what you did. I didn't know if I could do it. And that guy gave me an idea that maybe I could, because he drank like me. And he was getting through the day, and he was working, and he was having friends, and he was being of service to people. And he looked real comfortable with himself. And he looked right at me, and he said, if you don't like what I got to say, go to another meeting. And I loved that, because it made it clear to me he's not selling me something, he's sharing it with me. It's mine if I want, I can have it. They give it away for free in here. For free. It's like all the stuff that my sponsor gave me, the only thing he ever asked of me for all that he did for me, the late, great Donald Madden. All the things that man did for me in my life. He saved my life. He's the only human being I trusted for the first 2.5 years I was here. He saved my life. He was Alcoholics Anonymous to me. And all he said was, all you got to do, Earl, is that when you're ready and the next guy comes through that door, and he says, and I'll tell you when you're ready. And that next guy comes through the doors, and he's crazy, and he's out of his mind, and he don't know how to do it. You got to give what I gave to you to him. I said, deal. So I've been doing that. He's been dead almost 4 years now. Donald. One of the finest examples ever in Alcoholics Anonymous. And a lot of people in here knew him. What an amazing guy he was. And I'm still doing it, because Donald Madden's not dead. Donald Madden lives forever, because all my boys that I sponsor know about Donald Madden. And because I told them, it's the verbal history that we have in here. It's like the new family. Now I know I'm flying all over the place, and I'm starting one story, and I'm stopping it, and I'm starting another, and I'm stopping it. The point is this: I'm a free man. I'm a free man. I'm comfortable standing where I'm standing, doing what I'm doing with the people I'm doing it with. Right? We're back in the beginning where I started, right? That amazing feeling that I got, that sense of comfort, that ease and comfort that I got with the first couple of drinks, right? That I chased for 16 years to the point of absolute and total destruction in my life. I'm there. I've been sober longer than I used. And I've been a vicious member of AA. Ever since, man. And I used to be one of those guys that sat in the back and like, yeah. Well, fucking joiner, book thumper, step Nazi. One of those extremist AA guys. Well, my response to you is, well, I shouldn't say that. My thing is this, is that what I loved about Donald Madden was, this was a guy that had enough of a sense of himself and a passion for his life and a passion for living. He had the fire, you know what I mean? He had the fire for the day. He'd throw himself into things, everything, you know what I mean? You'd say to him, what about this, Donald? He'd say, wonderful, let's do that. He didn't even just say hello. He'd say, oh, hello to you. He was in it. He was there. He was all lit up. And that's what I wanted. I wanted to feel some passion in my life again. I wanted to be fired up about what was going on. And I can't be in Alcoholics Anonymous playing that James Dean bullshit, with that quiet angst in the back of the room. It's like, no, I'm cool, man. Everything's cool, I can't do that. I got to jump up and go, yeah, I feel really strongly about this thing. I got a spiritual path. I never had any kind of path. I got a spiritual path. I got a way to live. I got tools for living that are designed specifically for a guy like me. It's a metaphysical path. It is not dissimilar to many, many other paths to God. Many, it's not dissimilar to any of those. I mean, you can be a Christian, you can be a Jew, you can be a Buddhist, you can be a Muslim, you can be all of those kind of things, right? And you can bring all that in here, because we got a higher power that'll greet your God just fine. And we get to be in here together, and we get to ascend, rise up and out of a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body, a human condition that's been killing us for centuries. And for the last few years, some of us have been surviving a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body. That's amazing, man. I'm in on the beginning of this deal. I've only been sober 17 years. The whole deal's only been here 65. 65? Come on, is there a historian in the room? 63. We got a 63. Can I get a 64? But my point is, that's like the blink of an eye. man. In the big picture, it's the blink of an eye. We're in the beginning of a thing, man. We're the first ones to experience a state of grace. I mean, I've actually sat in meetings and seen guys take cakes and thanked and say, well, my first sponsor was Bill W. And I get goosebumps, man, when I hear that sort of stuff. It's like, that guy was right there. He was right there, right? When I meet Dr. Paul, I get, who's actually a friend of mine. He calls me like a friend of mine. We speak at different places, and we keep running into each other, and he and Max and I have gotten to be friends. And I just, every once in a while, I just stop and I look at him, and I just kind of go, I could meet the President of the United States, and it's like, yeah, how are you, man? Sorry you're having such a rough time. You know what I mean? Every once in a while, I'm sitting looking at Paul, and I just think, wow, check him out. I mean, there's guys in this room that I started out with. We used to stand in the back of Ohio Street in the kitchen. Like, there's a guy in the back right over there, man. He's a good friend of mine. I love him to death. Right? Well, we used to stand in the back of Ohio Street, and he kept his eye on me because he knew I was crazy. Because crazy people can spot each other. And he was crazy. And we would stand there, he'd think, you know what, I know that little fucker Earl over there, man. I know if he makes a move on me, I'm going to have to kill him because he's crazy. And I'm in there quietly thinking, that big dude jumps on me, man. I'm going to have to make a serious move around here. Everybody's just jacking up in their own little, quietly in the back of the meeting, trying to hang on. And we're both still here. And we're friends. Laugh about what we used to be like. What we used to be like sober. Because you change, man. There's a continuum that goes on here. There's a process of my life, and there's the process of my recovery. What I've done is all three sides of the triangle, because, that's the way I use dope. Please. When I was out there using, it was like, okay, we have some heroin, we have some cocaine, and we have some psilocybin. What would you like? And I'd say, well, I would like all of those, please. It's like, come on. And you stay till it's all done. You use it all up. Nobody ever said, no, thank you, I've had enough. You can say that, it's not true. You know what I mean? It's like, he's done because he just fell over. Or he's barking in the closet, or somebody's, on window patrol. It's like, no more for him. He's getting nose prints on all the windows, man. Do this the same way, man. Jump into this the same way. What the hell you got to lose? What do we got to lose? Why are we here? What the hell are we doing here? You know why we have meetings? You know why we have them? The reason we have meetings, it says it right in the book. It says it right in the book. The reason we have meetings is so a newcomer can come and hear a message of hope. That's why we have them. So the whole loop of AA is basically work the three sides of the triangle. Unity's the body, you bring it here. When you're new, you bring your body here, you got nothing anybody wants, including yourself. You come in and you say, help, give me something. Because you're self-centered and you're frightened, and that's the perfect way to get here. If you're suicidal, homicidal, kind of flashing in between the two of those, right? Thinking you're going to kill yourself or several people in the room at any moment, perfect, man. You're right on time, man. And you come in and you sit and you go, where's mine? Give it to me. That's the right attitude. That is absolutely the right attitude, because that's why we have these meetings, so you can come here and get what you need. You come here and you take. You take. You use us. You use it up. You take. You've been out there. You know how to do that. Do it in here, man. Take from us. Take from us. Take from us. But here's the deal. How you do that is you bring the body here. Right? This is the unity. The recoveries of the mind. Somebody you're going to take from us is what we got to offer. What we got to offer is the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous, which is outlined in the first 164 pages of that big blue book. All right? So we'll take you through the steps. Right? Step one is, what's the problem? Lack of power. If that's the problem, what's the solution? A power greater than myself that could restore me to sanity, soundness of mind, relieve me of the obsession to use the mental aspect of my disease, the greater aspect, because now we're all in here clean. It's about not starting again. This ain't about stopping. It's about not starting again. How do we stay here, right? We're going to need a power greater than us to do that, okay? Well, knowing that, what do? Well, you better make a decision to do something about it. Step 3, turn your will and your life over to the care of God. You don't know what that means? Don't worry about it. You're using a finite brain just like everybody else in this room. Nobody in here understands God. I don't know how the television set works. How am I going to figure out how... I just turn it on and there it is. I love that, right? I don't need to know how it works to benefit from it. God's the same thing, man. It's a big, big, big thing. You know what I mean? What I have is evidence of manifestations of God all around me, all the time, in my life. Watching people change. Watching people who can't stay sober, stay sober. People who can't live in this world, living in this world. People who cannot stop the anger, can't cut the rage off, Become gentle human beings. Become strong enough to be gentle. That's the strength, man. That's where being a man is. See, I had everything wrong. What being a man meant, what being a friend meant, what being a lover meant, what being a husband meant, what being being good to children meant, what being a member of a community meant. I didn't know how to do any of that stuff. You taught me all that. Step 4, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, me, God, and you. That's it. 4 and 5, me. Got to check it out. 6 and 7, got to hook it back up with God. 8 and 9, got to make amends to you for the stuff I've done. Clean it up, because I want to be free. So I did that. It took me 9.5 years to do step 9. Lived in a little one-room apartment, put all my money out. Owed a lot of money. Paid it all. Free man. Free man. Walk into stores, they used to owe a lot of money and say, can I run an account here? They say, no problem, we trust you. Nobody trusts me. Suddenly they do, because of you. 10, 11, and 12, same thing, me, God, and you, keep you in the game. 10, me, continue to take personal inventory. When I'm wrong, promptly admit it, get rid of it. I want to stay free. Don't want to get enslaved again by the anger, the rage, the resentment. Don't want to. 11, I got to seek God. I seek him through prayer and meditation. I pray for knowledge of his will for me and the power to carry that out. That's it. That's all I pray for. Meditate to quiet the mind so that when the answers come, I can hear them. Because as you can tell, it can get a little loud in here. 12 is the third side of the triangle. Having had a spiritual awakening as a result of working those steps, I can practice these principles, manifest a life like I've always wanted, and be of service to other human beings, which is what I was told I have to do. So back to that loop, you come in, you take, that's what we give you. When you get to 12, what does 12 tell you to do? Go back to the meeting now, and you don't come to the meeting to see what they got for you tonight. You go back to the meeting to be there, so when those guys raise their hand in their first 30 days, you can go give it to them now. So that's why I go to meetings. It's to be a service, because guys I sponsor show up, friends show up. I go and I sit and I listen and I try to participate on the level I was taught to participate on, because I've been through the 12 steps. I've had an awakening as a result of doing that. So I get to be here and I get to be free and I get to go out in the world. And what AA promised me was one thing. Rarely have we seen a person fail who thoroughly followed our path. Basically what they promised me was if you do this thing, all of it, all 3 sides of the triangle, you're going to get back in the game. Doesn't mean you're going to get the woman and the car and the cash and the house. And I've gotten all that stuff and lost all that stuff and gotten more of that stuff and lost all that stuff and gotten more of that stuff, because that stuff just kind of comes and goes. It's the ebb and flow of my life. The one constant in my life has been that I've stayed sober, I've stayed free as a result of being a member of Alcoholics Anonymous. And I have the passion for living every single day. Every single day I have it. I wake up and it's like, what's going to happen in Earl's life today? You know? And it's always interesting. I have a very good time. I'm sure some of the things I do would frighten some of you, displease others, so you don't do them. Don't you do them. I'll live my life. Who I got introduced to in here was me, and that's the life that I live. And I'm having a great time, and I try to do it without harming anybody else, being dishonest with anybody else, or misrepresenting myself. Those things happen. I make amends. I ain't perfect. I screw up all the time. But if you ain't screwing up, you ain't in the game. Get out there and push it. You know what I mean? Mix it up. Push it around. Be bad at stuff until you're good at it. You know what I mean? Learn. Remain the student. Forever the student. I mean, so many people I know in here have been sober a long time. They're still students of the game, man, the game of life. They're out there in the game doing it sober. If you're new, get fired up. Jump in. Just come on. Just come on. Come on. Come in the thing, man, and catch the biggest buzz I've ever known. All right, I'm no joiner. I was no Cub Scout. I wasn't in the Little League. I didn't do any of that stuff. I never joined anything in my life. This is worth jumping into and being a part of, because you can catch this thing. You can catch alcoholism in here. Find out that's what you got, and now you got a way to get free. So come on in and be free. I mean, it's the best. I wish you peace. I mean, that's the hardest thing for people like us to get, is to find peace. You know, I never had any till I'd been in here a long time. I have some now, and I want more. I was a pig out there. I'm a pig in here, man. I want the buzz as big and bad and crazy as I can get it. And it's here. It's here. Find the people in here with the fire in their eyes and just keep coming. Keep coming. They'll show you the way. Thanks.
Wow. It's been another typical Saturday night meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous. Now we'll have announcements from our Secretary Willis.
On Willis side of alcoholism. Let's see here. Let's thank our speakers again, Barry and Earl. Great job. Hey, great job. A special welcome to the newcomers. Could you please stand again so we can get better acquainted with you, pick on you? I have Have, Jason, Bruce, Kim, Colleen, Carson, Jerry, Chris, Diana, Andy, and Sue. I missed a couple of your names. I'm sorry. Keep coming back. We have newcomer chair people, Terry and Gina.
Okay, this is how I prepare my drone for launching. I like to do it inside the cab of my truck so I'm not standing outside in the weather. To install the joysticks for control, up and down, right and left, powered on. I have an Android phone that I use to connect it to the drone with. And it's actually controlled through the iPhone, through an app. Oops, wrong way. It's actually controlled through the iPhone, or through this Android phone, through the app. It's actually controlled through the Android phone, through an app, and you connect it through this short connection right here.
Remote control connected.
Remote control's connected. So I pull out the drone. I have to extend the legs. Long legs extended first, then the short legs. Remove the gimbal protector. Set that aside, then power it on one short burst, then one long burst. I lay it down. So I have to go to calibrate. So the drone's not connected yet. It shows you here as this drone gets disconnected, even though the remote's powered on. So the drone has to establish it's connected. So I go into the app to calibration mode. First I'll calibrate the remote controller. Start calibration. Out, in, out, in, up, down, and then this little wheel is to control the gimbal. So it's calibrated. Go to gimbal calibration, start calibration, and then it calibrates the gimbal. I don't know if that shows up. The gimbal's moving all over the place. Changes, you can see it on the video. And I'm calibrated to take off. It's acquired 7 satellites at the moment. There are 26 satellites up in the sky, which it has to acquire before you can take off. So it's connected. It's got enough satellites. This is white. I can go to press this little arrow button, swipe right to take off, and it would start the motors if I slid this to the right. But I'll wait till I get outside. Don't want to do it inside.